I'm delighted to welcome today Heather C. Abbott, and Heather is a prosperity speaker, educator, coach, all kinds of wonderful things, aren't you, Heather? And I say it's Heather C. Abbott because you just explained that there is another person. So the C is the important, Heather C. Abbott, and it's ABBOTT.
Thank you. Yes, there's a Heather Abbott that was a survivor of the Boston Marathon. And if you search just Heather Abbott, you get both of us and mostly her.
Right. Cool. Okay. So whereabouts are you, Heather?
I am in Nova Scotia in the rural area, one of the rural areas. Most of Nova Scotia is rural. So small town of like 3,000 people. And yeah. That's where I am.
That's 3,000 people. That's almost like a hamlet. That's very tiny, isn't it?
It sounds so much better when you say hamlet. Yes, yes, it is. There's about 17,000 in the county, but that's typical for Nova Scotia. It is. There is one city here that people from big cities, like my son-in-law's from Puerto Rico, and he's like, that's just a big town.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a smaller. It's roomy. There's lots of room, but there's not. It's not crowded. It's nice.
Yeah, wonderful. That's what I like about Portugal, where I live now. It's rural. It's nice. You're not far from anywhere, but you've got beauty all around you. It's wonderful. Nice, nice living space. So Heather, you've had an interesting story, interesting life, and let's kind of work backwards. Let's tell people what you do, and then let's explore how you got there. So what do you currently do?
Currently, I am a paid speaker, mentor, trainer, do workshops. I'm helping heart-centered people to take their place amongst the wealthy of the world. So I use my background of, I started learning accounting in 1984, even though I'm 35. I've been an accountant for 3 decades, financial advisor for a decade, but I also have, 10, 15 years of mindset work and working on so many things. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So I have all that stuff for business building and financial things that you need to know, combined with all the right brain, what's your numerology, your astrology, that sort of, quantum physics things brought in. So I bring all that together and I help people to up-level their finances.
Awesome. My cat's decided he wants to walk. Oh, sorry. Oh, gosh. There we go. Sorry, my cat decided he wanted to walk on the keyboard and I didn't get hold of him very comfortably. So sorry, Bobby. That's the beauty of doing live interviews, isn't it? You never know what's going to happen. I was talking to somebody earlier on, and the stray cat from out in a nearby farm walked in and started to eat Bobby's food. So hey ho, who knows what's going to happen next? So you've got a really unusual mix then, haven't you? Because I don't meet many accountants who've got all the softer side of things, with the open mind, with the you mentioned the astrology, numerology, all that kind of stuff. So
well, if you really want to get open-minded, I'm a fairy.
You're a fairy? Oh my word. Okay, I've never interviewed a fairy before. Okay, right, stop the clock. Talk to us about fairies then.
Well, I've always loved fairies and unicorns and all things magical, mystical. And in 2016, I did a course through Doreen Virtue at the time called and I became a certified fairyologist. Oh, wow. And in the course of doing that, I came to realize that I am an incarnated fairy. And the funniest thing is I said that to a friend of mine, and we were in a car. I was driving and I'd only known her for like 8 months. And we're driving and it's like, so I figured out I'm a fairy, and I'm pretty sure my wings are dragonfly wings. They're not butterfly wings. And she looks over at my back and she's like, yeah, they're green with kind of gold flecks. And I'm like, you can see them? She's like, yeah. And I said, since when? She's like, since I met you.
Oh my goodness.
There's
Goodness
other
me.
people. If you can see the etheric realm, you can
Mm.
see that sort of thing.
Wow. Etheric realm. So for the benefit of the listeners, what do you mean by the etheric realm?
The etheric realm, see, this is why I'm not your typical accountant. The etheric realm is all the magical beings, and plus like angels and all of those things. They tend to be visible in, like, if you think of different dimensions, you may have heard of that. Another word for them is realms. So there's different realms. It's not like other worlds, but you can see on different levels. And I think there's 7 or 9 different levels, and humans do not usually see past, like, I think the 3rd. But in this other etheric realm, that's when all of these magical beings left the regular earth plane. They took all evidence with them and went into this etheric realm. So they are still all around us, and some of us can see them. Some always, some never, some occasionally. And it's like seeing auras. It's when you get more connected with your higher self, you become more, the ability increases in you to be able to access and see more things. And yes, if you're very religious right now, you don't like me and you're saying, oh no, that's devil's fun. No, it's not. It's all good.
You mentioned about dimensions and humans not getting more than 3. There's a lot of talk at the moment about going from 3rd dimension to 5th dimension. Is that all part of what you were talking about?
Not really. I'm just, the etheric realm is, as I understand it, where you are able to see some of the things that are around us that not everyone else sees. Like some people, if you take a picture and you see like a shiny dot in it, those can be fairies. Some people can actually see fairies. Some people can sense them. There's different, everybody has heard of clairvoyance, where you see things that other people can't see. That's seeing in the etheric realm. There's also other clairs, they're called. So there's clairsentience, where you feel things. There's clairaudience, where you hear things. And there's claircognizance, where you just know things. And that's my strong point, is the claircognizance. Clairsentience would be second. Everybody tends to be stronger in one.
Interesting. I've not heard it called claircognizance. Can't say it.
Cognizance.
Yeah, that. Because there's things in life that I just know stuff, and it's actually saved my life. I've had various different versions of cancer, and one time I just knew something was wrong. There was no reason for me to. There was no lumps, no symptoms, no pain, no nothing. And I just asked to be checked, and I had a grade 3 tumor. So sometimes you just know, you just sense things. So that's what you're talking about. How interesting. So an accountant, that sounds, I've done a lot of work with accountants. I was actually chief operating officer at Ernst & Young. I run one of their big consulting divisions with over 200 staff in London for a little while. In another life, that was. So I know quite a bit about how accountants normally function, and we never had any conversations about fairies and ethereal realm and all that sort of stuff. How interesting. How did you get into that kind of world, Heather?
I've always, like I said, always loved everything related to fairies and unicorns. If you look, I have pictures I bought in high school of unicorns and fairies and stuff. Like, it's typically people are like, well, how do you know? Well, one of the ways you know is it's something that you are very much drawn to. And this would be like for your past lives, which are, it's kind of a misnomer because all time happens at the same time. It's rather like a disco ball where it puts all the dots on the room. Each dot is a different lifetime sort of thing, but they're all happening concurrently. It's just where you focus. But if you're trying to figure out things that you've been or people you've been in past lifetimes, you can look at things that you've been really strongly drawn to. That's an indicator. Like I'm sure I was an otter before. Another way is if you, well, a friend of mine, her son really likes the cold. He was a polar bear before, and her daughter really likes the heat. And she, I forget what she was. Like there's different things there, but you can also look at habits and things you might have said when you were a child that you remember. Like I remember as, oh gosh, I must have been 3, going around the yard and just pulling pieces off of different weeds and putting them in a bowl and mashing them. And I know I was an apothecary in a past life at some point. And like there's people who can tell they were princesses, and just things that were said. Like there's so many people out there that write about this. Donna Eden has a really good book, and Denise Lynn they both have some books where they talk about things. I think Donna Eden's is just in her energy medicine book, but there's a lot of evidence to it. And I've even heard of one woman who did a past life regression, and the man who she was in love with was actually still alive. She had died young in that life. And she went to the house. She found the house that she had seen in the regression, and he still lived there. And the letters, he still had the letters from her.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, like there's, if you delve into it, there's so much. It's fascinating.
Goodness
And
me,
even for
really.
people that don't believe in past life regressions, if they do that sort of thing as a therapy for a pain or something, and they discover something, and again, it's like imagining, but it's what you think, but your instincts, everybody has this ability. So, but they can go back and discover, oh, well, let's say, oh, but I just made it up. I don't believe in past lives, but oh, I just made up this thing where I got shot in the back at that age, and now he's got a pain in his back at that age. And sometimes just doing that, the pain will go away because you've acknowledged the wound, sort of thing. I don't know, it's weird, but weird means supernatural. So I take that.
I think you probably would have been burned at the stake years ago had anybody been listening to this conversation many years ago.
Yeah.
Me by your side as well, no doubt. So okay, so accountant, so have you worked all your life pretty much as an accountant alongside this?
Yeah, that's always been a part of it. I don't do accounting anymore. I don't do financial advising anymore. That ended in 2015, which we'll get to. But yeah, I started taking bookkeeping in high school, and it was so easy that when I got to graduating year and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, because it was March and graduation was coming, I was like, oh, okay, I'll be an accountant. But it's actually in my astrology chart, my numerology, everything I have heard is like, this is my mission and I cannot avoid it. Like my astrology chart is very clear. I am supposed to help people with finances and the emotions around finances, not just the numbers, but all of it.
Excellent. And that's what you do now. So that's what you speak about.
Yeah, that fulfilled life. Like there's a lot of, yeah, it brings everything together. Numbers are part of it, but not all of it.
Okay. So you mentioned 2015. So that was a pivotal year for you, wasn't it? Tell us about that.
It was. Well, in 1990, I married a guy when I was, I guess, on the rebound. I did not have very good self-esteem. I had been dumped for the first time in my life. And the warning signs were there because I dated a guy in high school that was not great. But I ignored them and I married him. And he would be like king of the narcissists. If you look up narcissists, there's a lot more to it than people who just think a lot of themselves. He was a scary guy. And I denied the entire time that I was mentally abused. I had spoken with a psychiatrist at one point. I never went back because he basically said, you need to leave him. He's controlling you with his temper. He was 11 years older than me. And I would admit after that, no, he tries to control me with his temper. Yeah, he tries to control me with his temper. So if I had ever had someone tell me that I was abused officially, I might have entertained the thought. But as it was, in 2015, I finally left him, and I had just had enough. I got to the end of my rope, and a week later, when I was at the house getting things, he shot himself in front of me. And as I ran away, I looked back. I stopped and looked back to see if he faked it, because that was the kind of thing he would do. To me, it was like it was a bad day, but it was another day. So, I mean, I was bawling. I was very upset. But yeah, it looked like a bruise on his temple. And it was still 4 months after that before I admitted I had been mentally abused severely for 25 years. So yeah, kind of pivotal.
Yeah. So did he die when he shot himself? Was
Yes.
it a trick, or it was a real?
No, he was dead. He was dead. He had come in the room. I have a video with the long story. If anybody wants to hear it, it's on my YouTube channel or my podcast, which is Heather C. Abbott, or Prosperity and Possibilities. So it's all there if they want to know more details, because it is there is more to it, but you know, I don't think we want to focus on just that.
No, we're here to talk about you, not rather than him. But obviously that must have had a major impact on your whole life. I mean, you'd got away, you'd left him, and then there was this thing that happened. How did you deal with that emotionally?
It was we were all relieved. My children, myself, my family, everybody that talked to me was like, "Oh, we're so glad he didn't shoot you. We thought he would." It's like, yeah, thanks. When you're in an abusive relationship, a mentally abusive relationship, it's like if you take a bottle of champagne and you shake it, you can't tell it's been shaken until you pop the top, and then it comes spewing out. When you leave, that's when the top gets popped. And I was very, very fortunate, because he was dead. If I had had to go on the way it had been the week before, where you don't get put off work, you don't have extra money, you don't have sympathy, you don't have understanding, and you still have to deal with him, that makes for a very hard journey. As it was like I had been a marionette for years that had been tangled up in the strings, and then the strings weren't just cut, they dissolved. So I had an overwhelming amount of freedom, and I was just trying everything. I was trying different, like I took on belly dancing and Pilates and yoga, and singing lessons. I was happy. I would go and visit friends, and yeah, it was good, but I couldn't work.
Yeah, you got to know yourself, I guess, in that time as well, at a deep level. Yeah,
but I could not work. My brain was tired from 25 years of mental abuse. I did not ever have a nightmare about that day, but I had multiple for years that he was alive again. The last one was last year.
I do empathise with that. I've had 2 relationships where the police have been involved, and court orders, and yeah, very difficult situations. But yeah, it's and when people are on the outside, and the embarrassment of owning up really to the fact that you are in an abusive relationship, but when you're in it, you don't necessarily see it, do you? It's not until people say things, and quite often, like you say, it's not until the cork pops that things are evident.
We're coping. We're trying to make the best of a bad situation, and we're looking for the best that we can find. And part of the problem is it tends to be empathetic people that are sucked into these relationships, because we see the potential and the hurt in the person that we're with. But I had one person say to me afterward, a woman who was helping me, She said, just because you see the potential in someone does not mean they have any intention of ever living up to it. And that is something I would like every woman in relationships that are not great to hear, because they can be, it's like they're an actor for the first few months and they've taken on the role of the perfect guy, and then you're looking for that person ever after, and that person only ever makes an appearance when they've pushed the boundary too far.
There's so many different forms of abuse, aren't there? It's not just the financial, the physical, there's emotional, sexual. I mean, there's a whole ton of different versions of abuse.
Yeah.
And when you know, it's possible that you get them all at the same time simultaneously, or some people end up with just one particular thing that's a nuisance, and then they make excuses. Oh, well, it's only that's not a problem. I'll work around it, like you say.
Well, my advice to people is you have to set your rules before the relationship. I'm getting married this summer to one of the most wonderful guys. He is perfect for me. We can spend all day together, days on end. We do not get on each other's nerves. We've been together 5.5 years, and he's so great. But when I realized I had fallen for him, I gave him 4 rules. One of them was, you can never, ever be mean to me on purpose. I don't care what's wrong in your day, what's going on. You cannot hurt me on purpose. You will devastate me. So if you set rules, then you have those lines drawn firmly, right? Like, I do not share, you cannot cheat on me, or whatever it is. Make clear lines so that you know. And then you will know if he crosses the line, because if there is no line, he cannot cross it. And that's what happens in a lot of relationships. We kind of toss ropes on the ground for the lines, and they just keep kicking the rope a little farther and a little farther and a little farther. And by the time you notice, they step back from the rope, and you think, oh, okay, well, they've stepped back from the line, but they're still like 10 feet inside where it should have been. That's how it happens. It's not, nobody comes in and punches you on the first date and you keep dating them. That's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just, as you say, it's a gradual thing. It's like the story of the boiled frog, isn't it? With the frogs in the bucket, and gradually the water is getting warmer and warmer, and it's not until he can't actually get out because the water's too hot and he's cooked by this stage. I've become the boiled frog 3 times in my life, and it's not very comfortable, and each time through different circumstances. But that also, to me, they're experiences that we learn from, and they help us shape who we are as well. Not saying that we want to put our hand up for them, but they shape us or they break us potentially.
Yes. Another thing that you need to know is that it actually damages the amygdala part. I think it's the amygdala part of the brain. I'd heard Dr. Schultz, Mona Lisa Schultz, talk about this. When you come out of an abusive relationship, there is something that has happened to your brain where you will be drawn to more people with that personality. If you were in a room with 200 guys and 199 of them were fantastic, and one of them was like the one that you left, you're going to be drawn to that one. You're like I won't say the word, you're like a detector.
Yeah.
But she said that they did a test on monkeys where they damaged the same part of their brain, and the monkeys were drawn to their predators. Yeah, like it's not, because I have heard people say, well, she must like it. She just keeps dating that kind of guy. No, she doesn't like it. She doesn't see it. I wasn't interested in Craig, my fiance. He wasn't my type. He wasn't an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, he's great, but I thought of him as a friend.
So you're marrying your friend, marrying your best friend, hopefully. That's what they say, isn't it? That's a good thing to do for some people. It's the
best thing to do.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Excellent. So boundaries is the thing that you would, that's your top tip, is it, for women who are in an abusive relationship? Or, oh no, sorry, before you get into a relationship, that's when you need to set your boundaries.
Yes, before you get in there, anybody you have to have your rules. And if they do something and it makes you feel not good in any way, you need to say, I don't like how that made me feel. Do not do it again.
So for people who are in abusive relationships and maybe they're just waking up to the fact that the relationship isn't what they signed up for, how would you suggest that they start getting away from it?
It's so different for everyone, that it's the same as getting over money blocks and getting out of an abusive relationship. You can have multiple people tell you how to do it, but you have to figure out your own way. And there's fear of what people will think of you if you become rich. There's fear of what people will think of you if you leave that marriage. There's fear of what people will think of you if you're abused. I'm an educated, smart woman. I couldn't possibly be abused. Gosh, no. People would think I'm an idiot because I'm still here. No, some will. Some will. Some will think you're an idiot if you're poor because they don't understand it, because they've never been there. And for me, to the people who don't understand, I say, good for you. I'm so happy for you because you have never been there. You've never experienced, you don't know what it's like. And that's fantastic, but do not judge other people who are going through it, because what they're going through is real.
Yeah.
There is no way to tell them to get out. Everybody will find their own path, but it's a matter of wanting it. And I will tell you, I wanted him dead for like most of the marriage, like probably year 3, year 2, maybe even year 1. He would say, I don't think I'm going to live very long. And I'd be like, oh, I wish he'd hurry up and get on with it. I was actually jealous of women who were widowed.
Gosh, that's a sad state of affairs, isn't it? Sorry.
It is. I didn't want to win a trip, a vacation, because I would have had to go on it with him.
Oh.
Because he was nasty. Just it's you can't make other people understand, and it's not a path that or things that you want to regurgitate, because it just brings vibration down, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But for any of you who are in that situation, get help, reach out, talk to the women's shelter in your area, because that's what they're there for, and they have experience and they can help you, whether or not you are actually abused or he is just, he's a jerk and I don't like him and I'm not happy here, but I don't know how I could leave him. Then just check with them, just talk with them and see what they have to say. And if you talk with them and it really, the person you're talking to makes you feel uncomfortable, find another one, because there is someone out there who will be able to help you. But talking to someone who has the knowledge and experience already is who you need, not somebody else who's trying to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a sad indictment of the world that there are so many women's shelters about. So anyway, there we go. We've both lived to tell the tale, and
actually, I think it's the opposite. I think it's a good thing, because before there weren't any shelters, because women didn't get out, because women didn't have rights.
Actually, that's
the world is becoming the world's become so much a better place than it used to be. And I know people are like, oh, but this and that. It's like, yeah, really? Have you heard of the Spanish Inquisition, for example? Or how about, like, have you watched Game of Thrones? Because that's what the world used to be like. We've come a long, long way. Even in the last 20 years, 30 years, we've come a long way, and we're still going. We're going to good places. I know it.
I feel that as well. I think there's lots of positivity, despite things that are happening at the moment and have happened in the last 2 years. But I think we've got a very bright future ahead of us. I'm very excited about it now as well, because more people are realizing what's ahead of them. So that's fabulous. So is there anything that you'd like to say to the listeners before we close, Heather? Anything in particular?
No, I think we covered a fair bit. We went down the woo road rather than the numbers road, but that seems to happen. Yeah, if you want a tip for the finances as well, just you do need to look at the numbers. Don't be afraid of them. I have a system. If they go to my website, which is hcabbott.ca, they can sign up to be an insider, which will get them a booklet, which gives them an easy way that even number avoidant people are able to do to understand where they stand financially, to make good financial decisions. So, because that is important too.
It's hcabbott.ca.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Just briefly, going back to the numbers and the woo-woo thing, did you mention that you did do numerology?
I've looked at it. Yeah, I know a bit about it. I'm not an expert by any means. I just know, like, I'm a 5, which anytime you look up a 5, freedom is mentioned in the first sentence.
Yeah,
so.
I'm a 5. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. That's why you travel too.
Yeah, I'm living in a different country. I've had 3 husbands, and each time I felt constricted. I should never have been married once, never mind 3 times, because I'm a freedom person. So yeah, there we are.
It's so true. But you could end up with a guy like mine who is never going to trample on my freedom.
Wonderful. Never say never, but I've been happily single for about 18 years now. So we shall see what happens. Never say never, though. You never know what's around the corner. Yeah. So congratulations on your wedding this year. Are you doing anything special, or are you just going to have a quiet thing? What's the plan?
It's an outdoor ceremony, and there's a bunch of secrets around it, so I can surprise everybody. But I've designed my own dress, and I've started cutting the material for it, and it's going to be amazing. There will be pictures posted on my online.
Fabulous. You'll make a stunning bride. Wonderful. A nice happy ending to your story. Well, a new beginnings. It's not the ending, is it?
It is. It's the start of a whole new life. Yeah.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Heather C. Abbott, thank you very much for spending time with us today.
Thank you.